All right. Okay, today we're talking about something a little different. So, I thought this is pretty cool because with the latest release of Chrome in 135, Chrome has added support for the Observable API. And it's right here in the release notes. Okay, so here's the explainer for the Observable API on GitHub. And basically talking about the event target integration, meaning that, document, that query selector, some element, and essentially what it does is it provides a new API instead of using Event Listener, right? A way that you can kind of listen for events and subscribe to them in more of a streaming concept, right? And the inspiration from this actually comes from something like RxJS, which you can look through the documentation in RxJS and actually look at some documentation for some of the operators. Let's say something like, let's find something pretty interesting in here. So with some of the filtering operators, right? There is a filter operator in here as well. Basically, tell you, you send give it a predicate, just like a regular filter, like you would have on an array to filter out an array, and it explains how that's going to work here. Let's see, one of these other ones. Oh, take's an interesting one. It's pretty simple. You just basically say, I only want to take the first 2 times that something happens, right? So it does. You have a stream of something. In the case we'll look at right now, events, and I only want to take 2. Once you do that, it's going to stop taking any more events, right? And they have a little sample here for RxJS, see how that can work. So that's kind of where the inspiration for some of this comes. If you want more details on how some of the operators on the Observable API work, I recommend taking a look at some of the RxJS doc. Now, not everything, of course, is going to be in here, right? There is no distinct until change or distinct. I was kind of bummed there's not a debounce operator on the Observable API yet. Doesn't mean it can't come in the future. I think that'll be a huge benefit to add to the Observable API because you're working with events, and a lot of times you're working with streaming data as well. So you might actually want to debounce how you interact with that stream of events, I should say. All right, but again, we can look at the explainer here to kind of talk about it. So you got like an element, and you're going to say .when. And whenever the event that you're going to listen for is going to be like when click in this case here. And they're going to filter it out to say you're listening to a top level element somewhere, and you're interested on when someone clicks on a child element with a class of foo, right? So when the target matches foo, it's going to give you that event. Then you can map it out. You can get just the X and Y's because I have a bunch of different event data that's going to be there, but you only care about where they click, the X and Y for whatever reason. And you're going to go ahead and handle that in your subscribe method. And the subscribe method takes an object with a next function, and that's going to pass you whatever you filtered down, whatever you've parsed in your chain of operators that you're doing, right? The really cool part is that none of this actually happens until you add the subscribe at the end there, right? So it's kind of like you could create a bunch of these and you could chain them together, and then once you subscribe to it, then it's going to go ahead and handle the events or whatever you're listening for. It's got a really good one here for like mouse move, right? So basically you start on mouse move, you're going to take it until the mouse up event happens, and once that happens, it's going to stop, right? It's like removing the event listener at that point, which is really kind of cool. Now, since all these, it says right here, it says reduce, and some other terminators return promises. They play well with async functions, right? It's not true for all of them, I don't believe, so it's not going to work across the board, but it's still pretty fun. I haven't really tried it with reduce yet. I think reduce would be pretty interesting, especially if you're doing something like mouse move, right? And you want to collect all of the positions of something you've created for whatever reason. Maybe you're drawing on the screen. Then you can go ahead and reduce it, get all those X, Y's together, and maybe create an SVG or something. I haven't really tried that yet. But there's a lot of explainer details in here. Here's one looking at how to do it with like a WebSocket, right? Flat map is pretty cool. I'll talk about flat map in a second because I had to use it for the stuff that I was doing. And if we come all the way down here, it's going to talk a little bit more about the Observable API. It's going to link out to some more specky type documentation, which is cool to kind of look at. But I think this is going to handle a lot of information pretty well. If we come down here, oh, there, yeah, it's gonna explain like synchronous stuff, lazy, synchronous delivery. Um, Observables are pretty much all lazy. This is what I was talking about before. They're basically not going to start emitting any data until they're subscribed to. That's what this line is saying here. Basically, they're lazy, right? So you can just create a bunch of them, do all this here, and nothing's going to happen until you actually go ahead and subscribe to the data, right? Which is really kind of cool. I dig that a lot. I like anything lazy is really pretty interesting. Okay, and here it's talking about some more operators that you can work with. We have the take until. So like we had said, there's a take, basically that, say I only want to take the first 2 events or first 4 events, and take until some other action happens. Maybe, like we said, the mouse up event, right? I thought that was kind of neat. And here are the list of the operators currently supported with the Observable API that we have right now, right? Like I said, I was kind of bummed there's no debounce, but maybe we'll get a debounce in the future, and maybe we'll get some more operators added down the line, right? But I think this is a huge step right now, which is really kind of cool. And for now, it is only supported in Chrome. There are issues for Safari, and there are issues for Safari, and there are issues in Firefox to support the Observable API. But again, Chrome 135 is when this is currently available. So how would I use this today if I wanted to exclusively just support Chrome 135 in my apps, right? So let's check it out. So here I've got an application using the ArcGIS Maps SDK for JavaScript components. I've got my map on here, and maybe I want to do something whenever the scale changes, right? And to do that, what I want to do is I want to keep track of what the current scale is. So I'm going to go ahead and subscribe to the ArcGIS View Change event. I'm going to filter it out based on when the map is stationary. So I only care about when the map is no longer moving, right? It's no longer, I'm not zooming in anymore, or I'm not panning anymore. I only care about when it's stationary. And I only care if the current scale doesn't match the map scale, right? So if I don't want to keep streaming out console logs, for example, if the scale hasn't changed, I don't care. I only care about when the scale changes, when everything's stationary, right? So that's what this filter function here is going to accomplish for me. So I'm just going to go ahead and use subscribe, and I'm going to log out the message here. And I have something else on pointer move, which I'll talk about in a second. But first, let's see what the scale changing does. All right, so okay, so I'm changing my scale, panning around. Ignore the arrays coming back. So basically, I only care about when the scale changes, and this is the current scale being updated. That's logging out on my console log for me. So what's going on with the arrays here? What's happening? When I use the ArcGIS View Pointer Move, which is essentially a mouse move event over the map, basically I take that event, I'm going to go ahead and I only care about every 100 times I do this. Like I said, there's no debounce operator I can really use here. I can do it myself, but not as an operator, right? So I'm going to only care about every 100 times that this happens. So I've got a little function to filter that out. And when it does that, I'm going to go and map out the results. Now I'm going to run a hit test on my point. And the hit test is basically going to go ahead and say, okay, what features are under my mouse right now? So I'm going to go ahead and do a map of all that. So now I have this array of promises. It's a single promise when I do a map here. And then to get out of the promise state, right, I'm going to go and use a flat map. So to get my response, I'm going to get the results from that response. I'm going to pull the graphics out. That is the results that you get when you use the hit test. You're going to get an array of results that's going to have graphics inside it. I think it has like the screen point as well that gave you this result. I really only care about the graphic, right? And I'm using flat map here because if I did it, this function here would also have to be async. It'd have to have a promise, and this would have to be async as well if I didn't use flat map to kind of get out of there. So I use flat map to get out of async results, and I'm going to filter out because I only care about wherever I have the pointer move. I do a hit test where I actually get results back. I don't care about no results. I only want results back. So that's why I filter that out. And I'm just going to console.log the graphics that I get. And if we look at the results here, for example, these are the array of graphics. Now, I did mention before, I could do my own debounce, right? So the way I would do that is we have a debounce function in the Maps SDK for JavaScript that I could pull out of our promise utils here. So I get my debounce. I would go ahead and comment this out. And then what I could do is I can go and wrap this function in my debounce, right? So it's still going to stream all the results back now, not every 100 anymore. It's going to stream everything in, but I'm going to debounce those results myself. So that's kind of what you would have to do right now. If you wanted to use debounce with the Observable API right now, you have to kind of write your own to make it work. And you'll see I'll get a lot more results this way. So I get a lot more coming through. I'm not getting every 100, I'm getting every one, right? And if I really wanted to make this cleaner, what I would do is something similar to what I did with the scale up here, where I keep track of what the previous scale was. That way I'm only caring about when the scale itself actually changes. And here, I'm probably getting the same result over multiple features. So I'm in here, and let me clear this out. See, I'm still going to get the same two results here based on where I'm moving my mouse around. There is the educational data, and then like the neighborhood data under it. So I'm getting two different graphics, but they're always going to be the same. So what I would probably do is I would probably, if I want to make this so cleaner, I would add an array of object IDs here, and I keep track of all the object IDs, probably in the flat map here. And if those object IDs are the same all the time, I'd have another filter here to go and filter that out. That way I'd only get the results whenever they're not the same object IDs, meaning they're not the same data being console.logged every time, right? Another layer of filtering I would do on top of this. But again, I have to kind of add that myself and do it. Again, this is really, really cool because now this is like a little easier than doing add event listeners, stuff like that. And what's really neat, if you look at the explainer, when they show a lot of this data, so if I just come over here, we look at the declarative method that they do things, right? And it'll also show you the imperative version, basically the old add event listener, right? So this way here, you go ahead and you're going to go ahead and add your event listener. And when you want to stop using the event listener, you're going to have to pass a abort controller. Then I'll mouse up. You're going to have to abort the signal from the abort controller. But basically here, what you're just going to say is you have this take until that you can use with the Observable API, which is really kind of cool, right? I mean, I think that's a lot cleaner to do. Right now, it really kind of depends on what flavor of this that you prefer, right? But I think this is really cool. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think it's a really neat API currently getting added. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense for me working with it. Okay, so like I said, this is a really new API. It's been in the works for a while, but just implemented in Chrome 135. The other browsers don't support it yet, so unless you're strictly writing apps for Chrome 135 plus, it's probably not going to do much for you right now. I believe there is a polyfill available for this. If you really want to dive in and start using today to make yourself future-proof, you could do that as well. Or just go use ArcGIS if this is the kind of patterns you want to use in your apps. ArcGIS is super powerful. It's really cool. I've used it in the past. I haven't really had a chance to use it a whole lot in recent apps because I think you have to write your apps a certain way to really take advantage of it, right? One other thing I would think about too is that I think this is going to have an impact like when async and await was introduced into for developers, because it was kind of a new way of working with promises, right? So I think this is going to have the same impact working with the event listeners and doing stuff in your apps. I believe there's even a proposal to support this in Node down the line. I don't know where that's at. I was just kind of looking through GitHub issues and saw that mentioned in there. But again, this is a very interesting API. I think it's a very powerful API, and just something to know that it's there. Even if you're not going to use it today, I think it's important that you know kind of how it works, because like I said, this is probably going to be rolled out into browsers over the next few years, and it's going to be something that is going to kind of just be something that you use on a regular basis in your applications. So that was it. That was just something I kind of wanted to highlight there. So check it out, have fun, let me know how it did. As always, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you.